I was having some challenges getting this to work, getting up and running. Let me look over here. I want to see if this is working before I do any kind of intro and make sure I'm not talking to myself. Yes, it looks like. Let's hear double me. All right, all right. There we go. It is in fact working. Let's do. Let's bring let's bring a pop out chat window over here. I've been told that the widgets in OBS are not very good and should not be trusted. So we will use this. Actually, I know people hate setup when oh, never mind. All right, let's put this over here. All right, put the chat window over there so I can see it and so you viewing at home can see it. It is Thursday, January 12th, 2023 at about 5:30 a.m. in the morning. My name is Addy and welcome to Programming in the Morning. Need some kind of like a little jingle. This is 4 days in a row. And then when I got on, I was looking around Reddit. I was doing my normal morning stuff, and then I was like, am I gonna go live? I was like, yeah, I've been enjoying it. I'm gonna do it. And then I went and I looked at the stream and I realized, oh, I scheduled the stream for 5:15. I was like, wow, those just kept getting earlier and earlier. Because at first I think I scheduled the first one at 6, and then 5:45, and then 5:30, and 5:15. So I think maybe keeping them at around 5:30 to 5:45 is probably the way to go. And then I would start. That would give me a good hour and a half until 7 o'clock, because around 7 o'clock hits and I'm starting to think that I should do work, and not this kind of like fun, just talking into the void work. So how's everybody doing? What is going on today? I think we're going to actually do some work on that project I talked about yesterday. It remains to be seen how little or how much work we will do, but we'll get started on that in a few minutes. Just trying to get some stuff done here. And in the meantime, I think I have gout. That might be TMI, but I do think I have gout. My left foot has just been hurting like crazy, making it difficult to walk, making it challenging to put a sock on. And I am supposed to leave for either Greenland or northern Canada in a few days. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to go because I'm having trouble walking. So how am I supposed to walk through the tundra of North America when I can barely walk through the carpet of my living room? Actually, we don't have carpet. We have rugs. We have hardwood floors because we are civilized people. We're not savages. But still, how are we going to get how is this going to happen? All right, so let's pull up a browser and let's start talking about what it is we want to accomplish today, and then see if we can go ahead and get started. All right. So we just showing everybody my bills. I just realized that I wonder how much of that got on. Maybe not a lot. It looks like it takes a second for everything to load up, so maybe it wasn't a lot. But just show. Oh my God. Okay, let me make sure I'm not showing everybody personal information. Let's go here. Okay, this is fine. I think there's my GitHub profile. Ugh. All right. All right. So let's take a look. Let's take a look. Oh foot. So yesterday we talked about whether or not to start this kickbow project directly, or whether we wanted to, I think, start this other project called Electron CPP, which again was just a template. And I think we had pretty much decided that what we're going to do is we're going to start the template. We're going to work on the template. And then hopefully it will take maybe a couple of weeks to accomplish at least the base set of goals on the template. Now you might notice I am back on my Windows machine today. That is just because I am trying to keep things spicy. I am just trying to keep you guessing, really. And honestly, that's exactly why. But we'll probably be spending more. Well, okay. There's that reason, and then there's another reason. The Mac that I worked on yesterday is in my downstairs office, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with my downstairs office, except one thing. It faces the front of the house. And about 2 months ago, let me start at the beginning. About 3 months ago, they installed these street lights all throughout the neighborhood. Now, they didn't turn them on. They were just installed. It's like, okay. All right, we're going to get some new street lights. That's cool. Then, a few weeks after that, they turned them on. Now, the street light that was directly in front of my house didn't turn on for whatever reason. But the other street lights, they are those cheap, bright white, like super luminescent Chinese, like no softness about it lights. You know, I'm sure they are the cheapest bulbs you can buy. When they start looking through the streetlight catalog, they looked to the number that had the lowest number and they said, we want those. So it is extremely bright outside. It is like these lights, it literally hurts to look at it hurts your eyes to look at them. And maybe that's all street lights, but most street lights have a soft glow about them. These are harsh. These are like, they have no compassion, no empathy. They're just evil, strict, hard street lights. So anyway, but like I said, there was one street light that was in front of my house that hadn't been turned on. And I didn't like all the other street lights, but I lived with it. So I would work in my office, downstairs on my Mac, I like getting up early, as you can see. I like, I actually slept in a little bit today, but I like getting up early. I like getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I like getting up when it's dark, and I like waking up with the day, so to speak, as the day gets brighter and seeing the day wake up. I also like the quiet time in the morning while everybody is asleep. And I like doing that in front of my desk, in front of my computer at my desk. Well, then about, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before Christmas, I see some guy working on the streetlight in front of my house. And I'm like, oh no, and I asked the guy, I said, are you turning it on? He's like, yeah, I got an order to turn it on. And I was like, well, can you pretend like you can't fix it? And he's like, no, sorry, I got to turn it on. I was like, come on, please. Now, I probably should have offered him like a 50 spot or a 100 spot. But no, he turned it on. And it illuminates the entire front of my house. You don't need a lamp in the front of the house. You have a small white star in the front of my house that illuminates everything just fine. It's awful. So when I wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I want the darkness, I can't go downstairs to that office because the office, as I said, is in the front of the house, and it is completely lit up by this huge star, this awful streetlight in the front of my house. And I tried it yesterday, and it was okay, but it was too distracting. And like, everybody has their rituals that they do in the morning. And mine, at least down in that office, as I would come down, I had to grab my Diet Mountain Dew, and then I would go sit at my desk. Well, no, then I would go and I would open the curtains, and then I would sit at my desk. Well, yesterday when I did that, I tried opening the curtains and it was like, brrr. You know that scene, you know that the Seinfeld episode where Kramer can't sleep because of the sign right across the street from his apartment? That's how it feels. It's just this light, just like, ah. And so yesterday when I opened the window, I opened half the window, which, helped, but it wasn't ideal. And so I was able to do something. I was able to do work, and then it was okay, but it was still very distracting. And that's why this morning I am back on my Windows machine. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to get another desk for this office, and then have my Mac set up right next to this desk. Maybe there, don't know. And then that way I can come in and literally at the last minute I can decide, okay, I'm going to work on Windows today. Or I don't even have to say today, okay, I'm going to work on Windows right now. Or, okay, I'm going to work on my Mac right now. And you can't see, but behind me I have two Linux boxes as well. Not really going to use those as a desktop. Those are more for like servers and SSH and shit like that. But yeah, so I need to just get everything into this room. That's the goal. That's the dream. That is the dream. Alrighty. So since we did clone everything, we spent yesterday trying to get cloning and get everything set up for our Electron app, but we do not have to do that here on Windows. I think the only thing that we have to do here is simply clone. So let's see. So we have Qt Owl, Electric Owl. We do not even have Kekbo, the Kekbo app, and we do not have the Electric CPP app. So let's go ahead, download Electric CPP. This is a git clone command, and then that should create that Electric CCP folder. And then we go right into Electric CPP. What am I missing? Electron CPP. It's still pretty early. I woke up maybe 15 minutes before I started streaming, so I'm still like dusting the cobwebs out. All right, let's look at what we got. And while that's loading up, we are also going to need a copy of the Electric Owl. We will need Electric Owl to load in a browser because we'll need that at least for reference. Because remember, we're kind of taking the non-specific parts of Electric Owl and putting it into Electron CPP. And then we're going to enhance Electron CPP, make it better, and then bring those changes back into Electric Owl. All right. So let's see. This is Electric CPP. This is, I thought I loaded them both up. That's Electron CPP and then Electric Owl. Here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is give these different colors. Okay, green is fine for that. And then for the project I'm actually like concentrating on, one of the things I like to do is just make it black. That way it's easy to distinguish between the two. All right, okay. I can see that. What color was that? There's no way to get the color. I don't know if that's an off green or an off red. All right, whatever. But it's definitely not black, and that's what's most important. Alrighty. Okay. So let's talk about Electric Owl first. Let's talk, because yesterday we talked about the Owl program, and I showed it to you, and I showed you what it used to do. And I'm almost tempted, let's get it to work on this computer too. But I'm not going to do that because that would require a whole build setup and libraries and various other things that I just don't want to deal with. So it is tempting to do. It is really, really tempting to do. And in many ways, it's tempting to just take that project and kind of just turn that into what I want to turn this into. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to resist the urge. I mean, I would like other opinions on this, and maybe somebody else joins the chat room at some point. We can talk about it. But I think I'm going to stick with my original plan for now and just do this. Okay. So you can see that, like, from the OWL program, and also just from like what Discord looks like, this program, it starts to look like it. Now, this doesn't do much of anything, but what we have here is we do have a container with buttons on the left hand side. So we don't need the UI. We just want some kind of container that probably allows you to move it around and then close it. And that's pretty much it. And that was what would be inside. That's what the program would be of Electron CPP. And then maybe when we get to the point of adding a C++ portion to it, we'll just have a C++ library that does something like prints hello world, or returns a string that says hello world, and then we print that out inside the GUI. Okay. So that makes sense. So the first thing is like, well, do you want to do the CMake portion first, the static library portion first? And excuse me. And I'm kind of tempted. So for C++, or for Electron CPP, the layout I have proposed is that you'll have a CMake in the middle, is in the root folder of the project. You'll have an Electron folder, which I kind of don't like the name of. I kind of want to change it to maybe like UI. And then source, which I kind of want to change to, I don't know, API? No, libs. Maybe change it to libs, or just lib, library, the library folder. And then, so you would have your UI, which is where the Electron folder would go, which is where basically if you look at the folder structure of the Electron, where did it go? If you look at the folder structure of Electric OWL, everything is underneath of Electric OWL. That's where you have your package JSON. You have in this case, you're a bunch of other unnecessary files. But you have your package JSON, your TypeScript JSON file, and then you have your source and node modules underneath that, which is fine. So I'm thinking that like this folder would be underneath UI, and then your standard library folder would be underneath of this lib. And I can show you what a C++ library is going to look like as well. So if I come back to GitHub, and then this should be really easy to show. So let's take, let's just take this C, what did I call this? A C++ CMake Conan boost template. This is pretty easy to do. And you can see under here, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't a good example. Yeah, this is a fine example. Okay, so under here you have your application folder, which just has a main CPP file, which basically just it uses your library. Right here, it's saying include the library header file, then it instantiates an object of that library, and then it prints it out. And then, so that's all under the app folder, and then you have your lib folder, which is the library itself. So for this project, this lib folder here would be equivalent to this folder. And Joe is announced, hey DJ, if you're out there, he didn't mean to ignore you yesterday. His craptastic Mac didn't show him anyone was chatting. No, that is true. So DJ Odyssey, I saw like at the last minute as I closed the chat window that there were people in the chat room. For some reason, the Mac, I don't know. I'm going to call it Craptastic OBS and not my Craptastic Mac, because my Mac blows this machine out the water. But OBS for some reason just wasn't showing. But I have learned my lesson, and now I am using YouTube's actual chat window and not a plugin to try and get chats shown. So if you were out there, if you were talking, I apologize. I was not ignoring you. Today, I am up to game. I am up to speed. I have chat. All right. So the CMake file is going to be under here in the library. So I'm going to start with the part that I know easiest, which is the lib, the library. Let's start with building the library with a CMake file from the root. All right. So we can do that by just simply creating this folder structure on disk. So this is where the CMake folder is going to go, and then we're going to have another folder. I don't know why I'm doing it through here. Let's just do it through here. It's easier. So this is... So like I said, we're going to have the UI folder, which is where the Electron stuff is going to go. We're going to have the library folder. And then we're going to call, and then inside of the library folder, we're going to have, say you wanted to use multiple libraries. So you would put all of them under this folder. So in this case, we're going to have, let's say, my library. We're just going to call it my lib. And then actually what I want to do is I want to take the lib that I created from Electric Owl, or no, not from Electric Owl, but from the CPP template. CCP. I was going to say CCP, the CCP template. Oh, those Chinese, those wacky Chinese. Oh wait, CCPs are the Russians, and the Chinese are CP. No, I always get it confused. Okay, let's see. Copy. I'm sure Joe will correct me. All right. So what we can do is back up and we can clone this. And while we're here, we might as well make sure this builds. Change directory build. So if you've never used CMake before, what I've done is I've cloned the repository from GitHub, and this is I've cloned this repository here. This repository shows a simple project that shows you how to use CMake and Conan to create a C++ project that uses the Boost framework. Now, that's a lot of words, but just bear with it. We'll go over each word at a time. A simple project, well, we're not going to go over each word at a time, but we'll go over the keywords at a time. A simple project that shows, I need to edit this, let's see. A simple project that shows you, that shows how, let's keep that, that shows how to use CMake. Now, CMake is a build tool for C++. When you have a program and you have lots of different source files, you have to take those source files and turn them into something that the computer can run. That's called compiling. So CMake helps you compile C++ files. When you have, you can have projects that are literally thousands of C++ files. And CMake helps you create a build system that can compile those. Conan, okay, so this simple project shows you how to use CMake. We talked about that. And Conan, now Conan is it's formerly known as a resource manager for C++. And what that means is if I'm writing a program in C++, and let's say that I need to, a good example is JSON. Let's say that I need to parse some JSON data in my program, or I need to create some JSON data in my program. Well, you could write it yourself. You could do it yourself to create a library that does that. But there are literally hundreds of JSON libraries out there. Some of them are very mature, and many of them are absolutely free to use. So how would you use one of those? Well, you would need to download it and then incorporate it into your project, into your make system. You'd probably use CMake to do that, and then it would just become part of your build process. But the act of having to download it, and then usually it's probably going to be a zip file or something, so you have to download it, extract it, put it in the right place. That becomes maintenance, and it becomes difficult, especially if you want to start building on compiling on different computers. So Conan makes that process easier. What you can do with Conan is you can say, okay, there's this very popular JSON library. For example, I'm just going to use Neil Loman's. It's a very popular JSON library in C++. It's called Neil Loman JSON. So you say, okay, I want to use Neil Loman JSON. It's found at this URL, which is usually on GitHub. And so you need to download it. And so you just configure Conan where it is. So that way, anytime you want to build your project, it will download the library if it needs to. It'll download the library and extract it and put it in all the places it needs to go and incorporate it into your build system just automatically. So all you have to do is just tell it to do that, and it does the rest. So a simple project that shows how to use CMake, Conan to create a C++ project. A C++ project is, C++ is a programming language that Joe fears because he's not comfortable with, tech and complicated things. So, but C++ is a programming language that uses the Boost framework. And Boost is just like a library. So like I talked about a second ago, the Neil Loman JSON library. Boost is similar. It's another library. You could think of it as a library. It's a framework. It's slightly different. I mean, really, frameworks are nothing but very large libraries. And so Boost is a library that is very popular in the C++ community. And oftentimes when you have new versions of C++, because programming languages are like any other program, they come out with different versions over time. And each version has new features. And, C# does this, PHP, Perl, Java, they all do this. All programming languages do this. C++ is no different. But generally with C++, before a feature will make it into C++ itself, it will usually be a boost feature. So like a good example is shared pointers. And I'm not going to bother talking about what shared pointers are, but the whole shared pointer concept was implemented inside of the Boost framework first, and then people used it from within there for years. And then finally, C++ was like, okay, this is stable. It's been used in Boost for years. We see that there's a need for it because people are using it like crazy. This is something we should add to C++ itself. And so shared pointers they weren't removed from Boost, but they were basically copied to C++'s libraries. And so now it's part of the C++ standard. So this project kind of takes all of those things together and shows somebody how to create this is a template that allows people to create a project that would use all of the things I described to create a bigger C++ project. Does Boost have a MySQL library? It does not, actually. No, it doesn't. Something like that, because the reason it doesn't is because MySQL is very it's very specific. Boost tries to be extremely generic, because if it has a MySQL library, why doesn't it have a Postgres library? Why doesn't it have the various different other database softwares out there? So no, it doesn't have anything like that. MySQL is too specific. If you want to use MySQL from C++, there's libraries that specifically do that, and I think the people who maintain MySQL, or the company that maintains it, probably also have their own C++ library. But so no, Boost doesn't have that. Boost would have things like shared library, like I said. I'm trying to think of some other things. Boost would have and Boost is also very big on cross-platform. That's another thing. So for the longest time, C++ did not have a file system library. So for example, a common thing you might need to do inside of a program is list all the files in a directory and then copy one file from directory A to directory B and then create a new directory. And for years, C++ didn't have a cross-platform way to do it because it was very difficult, because C++ can run on literally hundreds of operating systems. So Boost had a file system library that allowed you to do those things. Now Boost, before Boost will say, okay, we are supported on this operating system, it has to go through a rigorous test. So Boost has a very finite list of operating systems that it supports. Obviously, the big three are on there: Linux, Windows, and Mac. but then it supports others as well. And so that way you could, if you're using Boost and you write your C++ program and you say, okay, I need to create a folder, and then I need to copy a file to that folder, and then I need to delete this other file, you know that it would work. If you did that through Boost's library, you knew that it would work on any operating system. So that's the kind of example of what the type of stuff that's inside Boost, because a file system is a very generic thing, whereas MySQL, that's like a vendor thing. So it's not really going to have vendor-specific libraries or functionality in it. So good question, Joe. Good question. And I completely forgot where I was. So that's what this library does. And so what I want to do is I want to build it real quick, and just to make sure that it does build on this machine. Let's see, cancel changes, and I just did a little update. We'll just do that update here. So what I'm going to do, and generally what you do with C++ projects like this, or what I do, is I will create a folder called build. I think I already created it. I like to create the build folder inside of the source folder itself, just to keep everything contained. And so you can see the instructions down here on how to build. So we already did the clone step, and then this is the make directory build step that I just did. Wait, Conan? This has not been updated. This is using Conan in the old way. There is a new and improved way to use Conan where you don't need this step here. But since it is asking me to do it that way, let's do it that way. I want to see what version of Conan we're on. 53, that should be fine. So Conan install ... We're telling it we want to build the missing library, because we're saying, okay, Conan, I want you to install all of the external resources. You need to build any of those resources if they're not already on the system. So for example, say, I'm telling I want to use Boost, and I've never installed the Boost library on this computer before. This flag here, build missing, says, okay, if Boost is missing, build it also. And then build type equals debug. Build type, so build types are the type of executable program that you are building. There are several types. Like when you download a program for use, or when you buy a program off the internet, you download flying toasters. The binary package that you are downloading and building is likely a release build. Where as a programmer, like somebody like me, while I'm working and I'm compiling and I want to test them, I will be building debug builds. And the difference is, in a debug build, it allows me to see things in a debugger, essentially. It just has debugging information. So when I step through, and I can show you an example if anybody's interested, but when you have your program in your IDE, in your editor, essentially, and you're running it, and you can step through it with very fine grain, with very specific granularity. Each line of code, you can see what it's doing, and you can see how the variable values change, and that's extremely useful. But you can only do it in debug mode, and then so that's what if you build something in debug mode, it has all these extra symbols. They're called symbols inside of the executable that allow you to see the states of the variables as the program is running, which is very helpful for developers if there's some kind of bug and you're trying to debug it to figure out what's wrong. In release mode, all that information is stripped away, and the reason that you would just build release modes, the reason you want to distribute release modes. There's two reasons. One, for size. It's not so much a concern these days, but back in my day, back in the day when a program between 300K and 2 megs, when that was actually a significant difference in file size, you would want the smaller one if you were distributing a program for people to download. So a release mode will not, since it won't have all of those extra symbols for debugging, the actual executable file itself is going to be smaller. And also, because it doesn't have all of those extra debug symbols, it doesn't have to update those symbols during runtime, which means that a release mode executable is just naturally going to be faster. So typically when you are releasing a product, you want it to run as fast as possible. And so you want to release mode. Now there's a couple of others. There's actually one that's called release with debug information, and then there's what else is there? There's rel with deb, there's debug, there's release, there's min rel, there's one minimum size release, and there's a couple of others I can't think of. But the two that I just described, yeah. Joe says good programmers don't write buggy code. Well, then good programmers don't exist. So what we're looking at now is the Conan command that I ran. So Conan. So again, I told Conan that I wanted you. So I mentioned over here that this Conan command tells Conan, okay, here are the libraries that I want to use in my project. Go download them, and if they don't exist on the computer already, then you need to build them. And you need to compile them, essentially. So since this is using since this is using Boost, I'm sure Boost is one of those libraries that Conan is going to download and install. And we can look at what libraries we told Conan to use. And we can look here at this Conan file, conanfile.txt. And literally the only one that I have it using is Boost. And with a few options and then a couple of other things. But this is the important one. So what it's doing here is it has to build Boost, which I don't know why. I thought for sure I would have Boost installed on this already. Conan, what's the command? Search? Boost? Or is it list? Oh, no. Yeah, I do. I bet it's because I told it to do the debug. All right, I'm going to let that run in the background. We don't need to watch that. That can just kind of do its thing. The point is that this project will kind of be the library project of the Electron CPP project. So we'll start by simply just copying the files over. We'll start, well, or do we want to write new ones? Let's write new ones. Okay, so we already did mylib. And then we have this. Okay, so let's create the CMake folder, or the CMake lists file. Let's just create something here for now, and then we'll name it. The CMake lists file with C++ projects, you can have multiple CMake lists.txt files, and they work on a hierarchy. The one at the root kind of controls everything. It says, okay, here are all the subfolders in my project. The subfolders are kind of, there's often a one-to-one correspondence between subfolders and libraries. Not always, but a good portion of the time. But it's a good way to think about it. It defines all kinds of other options, like compiler options, defines what version of C++ you're using, blah, blah, blah. So let's start by building the CMake lists file and then making sure that we can build this mylib. And I'm going to talk through it a little bit just kind of as an education thing. If I was doing it myself, I would just be doing a copy and paste job, and it would take 2 minutes. But this is going to take a little bit longer. So let me do something off screen really quick. All right, give me a second to go off screen because I don't want you guys breathing down my neck about stuff. Let me see. And Joe used to program. When I met Joe, he used to do some PHP programming for vBulletin, and he wasn't half bad at it. And I might have gone about it the wrong way. I used to be a little aggressive and annoying. But I tried to encourage him to do some more programming, and he just didn't seem interested. So I was like, all right. But he was pretty decent at it. Programming's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. And I really would have liked to have worked on a project with him. I still would like to work on a project with him, but he's too busy being an internet podcast star. He's just too busy being an internet YouTube star. So he doesn't have time for, people who aren't famous. He's on Instagram just taking pictures and like, if you don't have at least 50,000 Instagram followers, then Joe is not interested in being your friend, is essentially what it's turned into. Okay, what am I doing? I need to get that library, so let me do this electric. I'm going to do electric out. Hi, boy. You want to come say hi? You want to come say hi? You want to come say good morning to everybody on YouTube? This is my dog, Muwan. Say hi, Muwan. Say hi, Stinky Boy. Hello, Stinky Boy. He is a little Yorkie. He is about 4 to 5 pounds. Really tiny, really small. And he might be 4 to 5 pounds, but he is a huge pain in the butt. Constantly needing attention. Constantly needing something, constantly needing love. This is one of those dogs you have to feed every day. What a pain in the butt. And before anybody complains, that's a Simpsons joke, okay? All right, God, of course I feed him every day. I feed him like twice a day. He's spoiled out of his mind. Okay, what are we doing? All right, give me a second. Give me a second, please. All right, I'm trying to load something up, and it's not cooperating with me really well. What is going on? All right. Yeah, no, I'm growling at you, move on. I start growling, he's like, alright, CCP, VMade template, okay. Engineers are too busy to code. Okay. I mean, I'm an engineer. There's engineers that code. So, all right. So here is a root level CMake file that we are essentially going to copy, and we are going to paste it. But this is not going to work for it's not going to work just as is, and we'll take out the things we need and change the other things we need to. So let's see. Minimum requirement is CMake. So again, this is a CMake file, and this CMake file is telling it. You're telling it kind of the broad aspects of your project, like the name, the version number, what libraries it's using, what compiler options, how do you create your executables, where do you want to put those executables, things like that. Okay, so this is going to be challenging because really the project is going to be two different types of philosophies built into one, because you have your Electron app, right? The Electron side, which has its own build system. It has its own CMake type of system. And then, so that's the Electron side. And then you have the C++ side, which has its own C++ side, which is what we're talking about now. So I could do the opposite. I could have Electron's build system, or I guess it would actually be NPM. I could have NPM's build system be the root build system that just calls CMake to build the CMake portion. But I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to have CMake be the root build system that calls into NPM to build the Electron portion. All right, so this project is called Electron CPP. And again, this is going to be at the root folder. Build unit test. We're not going to have any unit test or code coverage at the beginning. Standard. We are going to use C++20, and we will require the standard. Yes. Now here's a good question. Do we want to support libraries? So I mentioned earlier that there is a new way to use Conan in C++ projects, and that's essentially where you just kind of incorporate the Conan setup into this CMake file. And that's what this is. What we see. That's what you see here. Here, you see all the Conan setup, and I think we should leave it. I think we might want to update the Boost version. What is the latest version of Boost? Let me look at that. I think it's boost.org. Let me see what the latest version of Boost is. It is 8.1, and that came out December 14th. I would be surprised if 8.1 is set up for Conan already. What we could do is we could try it, but is this... Okay, that finished. All right, I'm kind of multitasking. This is what I meant about ADD. I'm all over the place. I gotta go here, I gotta go here, I gotta go here. What I'm gonna do is I wanna see if Conan 8.1 is ready for use, and I can do that. Let's see, requires XYZ. What the hell? Conan info. Oh, it's in the build folder. Ah, yes. So I'm going to go back to the Conan Boost project, and I'm going to see if it in fact does require, if in fact I can pull down Boost 8.1 from Conan. So let's see. It'll either do it or it'll give me an error. So right here, I am saying use Boost 1770. Or am I? I think maybe this Conan file.txt can be deleted. That is my gut. I'm on a tangent, but just give me a second to get off this tangent. Okay, Boost 174. Okay, so it's still using the old method. All right, so let's try it here. And even though I only should have to update it in one place, let's update it in two places just to be safe. Here. So now I'm just curious as to whether or not I can... Okay, go in and install. So it said Boost 8.1 not found in local cache, looking in remotes, trying with Conan Center, downloading, blah, 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 and downloading Boost 8.1. Okay, so it looks like Boost is ready to be used inside of a project or inside of a package management system. So we'll go back to Electron Owl, the project that we're setting up, and we are going to say, okay, we will use the latest and greatest, which is Boost 8.1. This is saying, okay, we set up no targets, build up, these are just options that we can ignore for now. Add library coverage interface. Okay, we don't need to add the coverage library, not now. We can delete that. This is all more code coverage thing. I don't know if anybody listening knows anything about code coverage. Code coverage is literally like when you write code. Let's load up an example of... That's not going to work as an example. Let's find something. So code coverage. I just want to show you some C++ code really quick. But of course, nothing on Windows is really quick. Okay, here's the library. Let's look at this. So here's just some simple code. And you can see here, I have a few functions, and then the functions do stuff. What code coverage does, so you have these things called unit tests that test your code. They're like little mini programs that just call into your libraries that just, and they make sure that you know, they make sure that it runs how you expect it will run. So here I have a class that's called my class. I have two methods here. This is something else. This is called a constructor. Maybe we should do a C++ introduction. Maybe I'll do that in a different video. Maybe I'll do that for Joe, just for Joe. Anybody else who wants to watch. Anyway, so this class, it has two different methods. It has two different functions. Methods and functions are kind of the same thing. And what code coverage will do, it will say, oh, okay, it'll look at your unit tests. It'll look at what you're doing inside of your unit tests. And then it will say, oh, you know what? Your unit test, you're testing this appendant function. It's called append it. It says, you know, you do have some unit tests that are testing your appendant function, but you don't have any unit tests that are testing your text function. And code coverage will go even deeper. So let's say the code looks something like this. If x equals 1, do do something. Else, if x equals 2, do something. God dang it. Do second thing, that's fine. Else, do third thing. So code coverage, it's smart enough not only to look at what functions you're using, but it's also smart enough to look at the branches of the functions that you're using. So it'll come in here and it'd be like, you know, I do see a unit test where x is equal to 1, which means you are testing this. And then I do see another one where x is equal to 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, so which means you're testing this third thing. But I don't see any that means you're testing this one. So code coverage at that point will say that you only have 66% of coverage for this function because there are 3 paths that the code can take, and you are only testing 2 of them. So therefore, you have 66% of coverage. 2 out of 3. And then it'll do that for your entire project. And then at the end of the project, you'll say, oh, okay, this entire project, it only has 75% coverage, which I shouldn't say only. 75% coverage is pretty good. And then a lot of teams, depending on what the policies are of your team, you'll have minimum requirements. Like at work right now, the team that I run, we have 70% code coverage requirement before. So if you make a change, all the code that you have written needs to be covered. 70% of that code needs to be covered in unit tests, or you will not be checking it in. And if you do so without my say so, or without my other guys say so, then you are in trouble. Not in trouble. I'll just revert the damn thing and tell you to fix it. Anyway, where were we? Okay, so we were setting up this CMake file. So we were talking about coverage because we wanted to get rid of coverage. We want to add a folder. So this is the root CMake. We're going to add the folder lib. And then we're not going to have any unit tests for now. So right now, very simple, very vanilla, very basic CMake file. But this again is the root CMake file. So we've added this subdirectory lib. So now what we should do is we should create another CMake file. And what this other one is going to do is simply we're going to save that CMake file under the lib folder. And then what that is going to do is just simply call any folders under itself. So normally you could, if this lib folder here, which I can't fold out, because if this lib folder here had multiple libraries, I could actually, do like this, for example. And then I could have other options inside of here itself, or I wouldn't need the file at all. I could just do all of that from here. But I generally don't like to do that because I don't want to pollute, so to speak. I don't want to pollute the root CMake file. I like to keep the root CMake file as small as possible, and then I prefer to have multiple CMake files as opposed to having just one really large CMake file. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. All right. So where were we? Add subdirectory. And so that's all that this one is going to be. And this will be the CMake folder that is under lib. I always forget. Is it CMake list or CMake lists? I always forget that. And of course, I don't have any projects loaded up to tell me it's CMake lists. Okay. CMake lists. No. Okay. It's asking me if I want to replace it. No, I don't want to replace it. I want to put it under here. CMake lists.txt. Okay. And so then I need a CMake folder or a CMake file for the library itself. So I need one that's going to have to go under my lib. And so for now, we'll just make it junk. We'll just save it. My lib CMake lists .txt. All right, we're making good progress. So now if I go back to the electric or the CCCP or the one project that had all those CCCCPP, the Chinese project, the CCP, it's not a Chinese project, I just call it that. CCCCPPCP file. What I want to do is I want to take that simple library, like here we go. We got my class H and my class CPP, and it has a CMake file. I want to take all of those and put them into here. So let's just do this through File Explorer. We'll take all three of these files. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dump them into our new project. Electrons, but is that it? Or is it this one? And which one am I working on? LulzApps. I'm working on the one under LulzApps. I think I kind of do want to remove that out of LulzApps, but we'll do that later. Okay, LulzApps, lib, mylib. So actually I can delete this and then just paste all of this in. I can delete that and paste all of that in. Thank you, Windows. Okay. So you can see here for the CMake for what we just created, it has the C++ file, it has the header file, the mock headers we don't need. I can talk about those another day and what those are. This first command, include directories of the current binary. We probably don't need include libraries. I don't think we're going to need it. No, we are going to need that because we might be using Boost. I'm not going to bother explaining what that is right now. It's a little too hard to explain. And then we don't need stuff for code coverage. Looking good, looking good. All right. So we have this library, so that will be a target. It's a static library. We got that, we got that, we got that. Okay. So now we're kind of just putting the skeleton in for this project is what you can kind of think of like that. We're getting the framework. We're getting the framework of a project that is a framework set up. I guess it's not a framework, it's a template. What do I want to do? I'm gonna go. I keep forgetting the name of this. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so this is where we've been working. I'm going to create a build folder. And now to build, oh, that's going to be a tricky part. I didn't even think about that. Okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay. I'm thinking like, well, wait a minute. You always build a C++ project. Well, you don't always. You don't have to. But generally, it's good practice to build a C++ project in its own folder. But with the Electron stuff, it's all built in the code, the same folder as the code. But surely there's a way to not do that. Because eventually, I'm going to want the Electron portion built inside of this build folder as well. That's where it comes up. Oh, thank you. Okay. So what I need to do is there's another requirement I just remembered that I need to do that I am not going to bother explaining. Well, it's just CMake itself. CMake itself needs libraries from time to time, and there's a library I need to paste. Let's do that. Electron CPP. And then inside of here, I actually want to update this file. Let's do this. The best way to update this file, I think, is to go to, I'm not going to, this file is a file that helps you use Conan inside of CMake. Okay, there it is, CMake Conan. And so what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to take the latest code from GitHub, I am going to copy it, and then I am going to paste it. To anybody that's not a programmer, I think you would probably be amazed as to how much of a programmer's job is Googling and how much of a programmer's job is copy and pasting. It is a significant portion. Like if somebody was like, if there was a challenge, like I want you to program XYZ, program this thing. But you can't use Google. I'm out. And you can't use copy and paste. I'm definitely out. So it just, you would have probably 99% of programmers drop out. Except Joe. I'm sure he would take that challenge because, you know, he's amazing. Okay. Okay, so we copied that. We got that. Let's start a build. We're going to build a copy of the library. I have to tell CMake what to use, but I don't remember what the string is. Visual Studio 2002. No, Visual Studio 2022. This is the string I want. I need to tell it to use that version of Visual Studio. Visual Studio, and then I want to tell it to make a debug build. Alright, now if this does, when I hit enter, I'm hoping that this will go through, and it's going to have to download that new version of Boost, and it's going to have to compile it, which is going to take a little while. Finger cross. Alright, selecting. This is demonstrating the slowness of Windows. Alright. Doing all its CMake stuff. It's like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, stop bugging me. It's like Mac is like a 20-year-old. It's like a 20-year-old who's fast. And it might not have all the experience that a 50-year-old would have, but Mac he's fast. He'll do things quickly. Whereas Windows is like a curmudgeon-y, like 50-year-old who can do the job. He's just like, quit bugging me. I'll get to it. Oh, you want me to build a folder? You want me to make a folder? Fine, I'll do it. You want me to delete all these files? Fine. Whereas Mac is like, oh, hey, man, yeah. Hey, whoa, let's do it. Oh, yeah, I'll delete those files. You know, it's a world of difference. All right, so it looks like, okay, we got to the generation step. It is definitely building. This is going to take a few minutes because it's going to build. It's going to build Boost. So again, if we go back to the project layout, what we're doing is we're building this portion here. We're building the library. The library itself is using another library, Boost. So we have to tell it, okay, I want you to compile this library. And in order to do that, it has to download and build Boost. So that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting for this version of the library to be built. Now, again, it is a very simple, where did it go? It's called My Class. It's a very simple library. It consists of a single class that has a constructor and two methods. And again, like now that I'm thinking about, like I'm thinking it might be a lot of fun to actually do like a C++ entry. I actually, a while back, I started writing a book. I actually outlined a book for C++ beginners. Let me see if I can find that actually. Where would it be? Actually, let me see if I can find it off screen. There might be something I don't want you to see. So let me see if I can find it. But I've always wanted to, I like teaching. I think I'm pretty good at teaching. And I've always wanted to teach. And so, but you don't make any money teaching. So I've always thought, okay, well, what do I know well? Like, what do I know well enough that I believe I could teach to other people? And programming. I mean, just programming is the way is one thing that I know really, really well. Apparently, finding repositories on GitHub is not. What the hell did I call it? I know it's on here. All right, I literally got to go through each and every single repository, and which is probably have the time because Boost is going to take a while to build. All right, let's do that. Hopefully, there is nothing on here that is nefarious. So the CCB template, that's what we're built. What we copied we just copied some data from it. ZenFeed is the Zen 4.0 feed plugin that we worked on for a few days, and actually needs a little bit more work. So maybe we'll switch gears over to that if I do another stream tomorrow. And then I was thinking I might stream over the week. Like streaming on the weekend would be pretty cool, because the thing about streaming over on the weekends is I would not have to stop at around 7 o'clock to actually start work. Zeth on GitHub, you see up here, if you look at my profile on GitHub, you can have like pictures and like it's kind of like MySpace. You can like define your own page with all kinds of little like, dancing toasters and stuff. That's what Zethon.github is. Kekbo, we talked about. AlServer, we talked about yesterday. Electron Questions was a repo where I wanted to ask Electron questions. If I was going to ask an Electron question, I could just put the code into there, because often when you ask a question, you need a code example to ask the question. TTVG. This was actually a cool project. Like, this was a project where me and a couple other people were trolling somebody. But in actuality, this ended up being one of the more complicated projects that I worked on, that I not only worked on, but I designed and implemented. I mean, it's a little video game. It has a scripting system. It has a custom resource system. It's pretty cool. It has a lot of cool little features. Reddit posts. Let's see, fragmented unit. Fuffs. This was an idea of a file system where the files were stored on social media. So think about say you wanted to copy a file into a folder. Well, what this extension to your operating system would do is it would store, it would chunk that file into, let's say like 16 byte chunks. And then it might store 16 bytes is really small, but for sake of argument, let's go with it. So it might store, and say the file has 4 16-byte chunks. So it might store the first chunk on Twitter as a tweet, an encrypted tweet. It might store the second chunk as a post on Reddit. It might store the third chunk in a Google Drive. It might store the fourth chunk as a post on Facebook. And then when you want to actually retrieve the file, it knows where all those chunks are. It retrieves those chunks and pulls them down. It would be a very slow file system, but I think it would be really, really funny to have a file system where all the files were stored on these various social media platforms that allow you to essentially store data for free. Now, I know you think, well, Twitter only allows you to tweet. Yes, it only allows you to tweet. But, and I just had a great idea, but you can tweet 255 characters or 255 bytes. That's data. Like, the data might be like, I walked my dog today and it was hot outside, but the data could be anything. And now, now that I'm thinking about it, you could do it with images too. Like, you could take file data, encrypt it into an image, and then store that image on Twitter, for example. And then when you want to retrieve it, all you have to do is just download that file, unencrypt it, and then you have your data back. That is a great idea. Wow. Using images. So what platforms allow you to store? Oh my God, you could do it with Instagram. Instagram could be your entire platform. Like, all you would need is an Instagram account, and boom, you have Google Drive. Wow, that is a great idea. I'm going to have to... Anyway, that's what Fuffs was. Now I just want to just work on that. Ashcoin was a cryptocurrency I was working on. CCP. So this project here, CPP-CCQ template, was similar to the Boost template that we looked at a few minutes ago. But instead of using Boost, it used Qt. Here is my resume, which is private, and it will remain that way. Another Reddit client. This was a pretty cool project that every now and then I kind of want to start on. I don't have any... oh, wait, no. This is the second incarnation of it. We'll talk about that in a minute. CPP Curses. Again, this is kind of like the Boost thing we talked about, but instead of using Boost, it uses it uses Curses. Curses is a console. It's like a console GUI library. Zethon, not sure what that is. Oh, that's my blog that I never update. Owl is the message board reader we talked about yesterday. SQL. This is a SQLite browser that is a forked, and this is also forked. Packet Sender is forked. MyHTML, HTTP, LevelDB. I'm not going to bother explaining all of these because I am just looking for the C++ book I was writing. Arc is the Reddit client. I don't have any pictures. That's sad. CMake Conan. CPP. Here it is. C++ book. So if I look here, I was talking about teaching and how much I enjoy teaching. I did start writing a book. And okay, this goes back to me talking about maybe doing like a couple of videos of C++ tutorials. Not that there's 1,000 C++ tutorials on YouTube, but mine would be better. So this is the C++ book I was working on. You can see I had outlined it in chapters. Introduction, the command line. I think it is imperative when people start learning to program. I think it is imperative that the first thing they learn is the command line. That you become comfortable in the command line. You become comfortable how to run programs in the command line. And you become comfortable with getting feedback on the command line. Which is so the command line takes you into console programming. And like even nowadays in school, the first type of programming you really learn is console programming. You learn how to print out "Hello World." You're printing it to the console. You learn how to you write a program that says, "What is your name?" and you type in Adam, and then the program says, "Hello, Adam." Like that is all done in a console. Chapter 3 apparently was a file system, and then I wanted to talk about web programming, GUI programming, game programming, mobile programming, and testing. So that, this is a project I would still like to work on, and I think I could write a decent, I think I could write a decent self-teaching book or a book that helps you self-teach. All right, let's see. I just want to pull it down. Oops, no, not that. I call it C+, I spelled out plus. That's why I can never find it. I always have trouble finding that repo. And then I started to even outline it a little bit and give it a little bit of content. So let's do this. Chapter 1, why the terminals are the rudimentary operating, and then let's see, what else? How far did I get? Okay, it's console programs, file system. So I outlined quite a lot. Sorry, like GUI programming, for example, GUI programming, cross-platform libraries, introduction to Qt, which I think would be cool to teach. Game programming, mobile programming, which I admittedly don't know a ton about mobile programming, but I definitely know enough to fake it. Testing, how's testing done, things like that. So I don't know. I think that would be something fun to do. How is this done? Still building Boost. Let me check the chat room. Is there anybody here? Has Joe left me? Nope, Joe's still there. No updates. I am due for my second soda of the morning. So let me go get that. I will be back in about 5 minutes. And Joe, you're in charge until I get back. Whoa. Don't know how to walk. Boost finished yet? No. Still working. It's okay, because we only have to do this once. And this gives us time to get together. This gives us time to get to know one another. You know. It gives us time to talk and express our feelings and to really lean on one another. Even though I think I'm just talking to myself at this point. Come on. So let's actually take a look. Let's take a look at what's in Boost data, because the last I saw about Boost, I think it was on 7.9 or 8.0. I want to see what's in 8.1. So they added a bunch of stuff to ASIO. The consigned completion total. I'm not going to go through each of these. I'm just kind of looking for keywords about anything that's interesting. Beast. so again, Boost is a library, and and the reason I say it's more of a framework is because frameworks, you can kind of think of frameworks as libraries that contain many libraries. So there's the framework, and then inside of the framework there are multiple libraries. And there's this library called Beast, Boost.beast, and it is written by this gentleman named Vinnie Falco. And I used to work at a company where one of my coworkers, let's just say my coworker did not have the highest opinion of Vinnie Falco. And it turned out that Vinnie Falco and my coworker had gotten into a bit of a flame war on, I don't know if it was on Reddit or some C++ board, or I'm not even sure where it was, but they were going back and forth for a while, and my coworker, he was just sitting at his desk, and then suddenly just like, motherfucker, like what? And then he just gonna be like, goddamn Vinnie Falco, blah 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 blah. I don't remember what it was. It was like some programmer argument, because just basically arguing over who should do something, like which way is better, and they had different opinions about which way is better. And anyway, so then this is 2018. This is not 2019, but 2018. I remember I went to the C++ conference, and Vinnie Falco, I don't know how to put this. In the C++ community, there are a few very respected people. Bjorn Strasse, who is the creator of C++. Obviously, he's very well known and respected. You've got others. What is it? Howard Hint, I forgot. Scott Myers is another one who's very well respected, or very well known and respected. The point is you've got these people. What is the guy? Howard C++. It's going to drive me nuts. C++ Howard Hinnant. But that's not even the guy I'm thinking of, I don't think. I know he wrote the date library. But anyway. So Bjorn Strasse, Howard Hinnant, Scott Myers, and now you have a bit of a younger generation too. Jason Turner is very well known in the C++ community. Matt Godbolt. So you have these people that are they're very well known. Vinnie Falco kind of fancies himself as one of them, and so, and he is pretty well known, and he's contributed quite a lot to Boost. He wrote the Boost Beast library, which I'm highlighting here, which made me start this whole conversation, made me think about this. So I remember 2018. I'm going to the C++ conference. At that time, it was held in Seattle. And the company I worked for at the time, you usually don't get something unless you ask. And I had a mad coworker that was angry at me that I was going to the C++ conference because I asked. I was like, there's this big C++ conference every year. At the time, it was in Seattle. It's currently in Denver, but but I asked my boss. I was like, "This is big C++ conference out in Seattle in August or September. Can I go?" And then my boss was like, "Well, put together a little budget. How much plane ticket's going to cost, how much the hotel room's going to cost, and send it to me, and I'll let you know." I was like, "All right, sure." So I put it all together, and it ended up being hotel, ticket, conference fees. It ended up being like $5,000. $5,000's a lot of money, but for a company, it's not a ton of money for like a multi-million-dollar company. So anyway, so my boss is like, "Yeah, sure, you can go to the C++ conference." Excellent stuff. It turned out that Vinnie Falco was going to be giving a presentation. He might have given multiple presentations that year at C++ Con. And my coworker, who had this rivalry, it wasn't a rivalry, it just had this beef, just this plain old beef with Vinnie Falco. My coworker was like, "Yeah, make sure you go say hi to Vinnie. Make sure you go say hi to Vinnie for me." And so I did meet Vinnie. I did not mention my coworker. And Vinny is he's one of these people that he's known. He's definitely not a no name in the C++ community, like myself, a no name. But he fancies himself on the level of Bjorn Strasse. And he's even created the C++ Alliance. And as far as from what I can tell by the C++ Alliance, it's an alliance of Vinnie Falco. It's like this club, because it's like he saw this club of like the C++ community, and he wanted to be the leader of that club, and they kicked him out and said, "No, we have our leaders. Go away. You can join the club if you want, but you're not going to be the leader." And then Vinny's like, well, then I'm going to start my own club. And that's how the C++ Alliance was born. And he's gotten it down. Like, actually, I wonder if there's even any YouTube, because they do have a conference. I don't know if it's every year, but I know they have had conferences. Let's see. Talk at C++ Alliance. It doesn't even come up. C++ Alliance. Here we go. Lightning Talk wrote. See, this is C++ Con, CPP Con. Here's Bjorn Strasse, the creator of C++, which I kind of want to listen to his Lex Freeman podcast interview with him. Okay, so none of the talks from C++ Alliance show up here from the C++ Alliance conference. Let me make sure that they have conferences. C++ Alliance. Am I spelling Alliance correctly? The C++ Alliance, cplusalliance.org. Home Mission Team News. Maybe they don't have conferences. I thought they did. So there he is, Vinnie Falco. He's a troll. He really is. He just, I mean, I don't want to disparage him or anything, but he really is like, it really does remind me of somebody who was not let into one club, so he goes and he starts his own club. And thus the C++ Alliance was born. I know some of these names. John Kolb, I know that name. Let's see. No, I don't really know who any of these other people are. I mean, not to say that they're, nobodies. I just don't know who they are. Anyway, what does the C++ Alliance, does it have conferences? Does it have, I thought it had conferences with talks and everything. C++ Alliance Workshop. I know, and then, I've had my own issues with Vinnie Falco, because you go into, and this is one thing I hate about the programming community, and it has gotten better in recent years. But you ask a question, and if somebody deems it to be a stupid question, they just tear you apart. And this is really bad for beginners. Like, people who you want to bring into this community, who you want to use the technology, who you want to broaden the scope of people who are using the technology, and then they come in because You know, they can't figure out how to use MySQL from C++, and then you just completely get ripped a new one. Like, well, first of all, that is not just an easy thing to do. Now, I'm adding tone, but this is how I read it because it's just, you know, like, well, first of all, like little markers that just kind of clue you into the tone as to what these messages are. And, or just outright laughing at you, like, LOL, you think that's something that we can answer in just a couple of sentences? Things like that. It's just, like, I was in the C++ Alliance, well, I was in the C++ Slack server, Slack channel. And I remember asking a couple of questions, and lo and behold, Vinnie Falco answers. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude! Like, can you just, like, I mean, like, if the question is badly formed, if you don't have, if the person asking the question didn't give you enough information to answer the question, can't you just say those things instead of just being like, well, I'm not going to waste my time with a lowly junior programmer like you. Like, that's just the kind of attitude that he gives off. And, like, so when I realized that when I realized the Slack channel was run by Vinnie Falco, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave this. I'll find resources elsewhere. And, and then I found out that he runs the C++ Alliance, which just reminds me of this, like, you know, self-indulgent club where he gets to be the leader, and you know, and then you got to talk to him for the password to come into his treehouse. I didn't realize I had such strong feelings about Vinnie Falco. With 35 years programming experience, 25 years of C++, and 10 years experience of managing technology startups, Vinnie provides a strong vision and technical leadership to the organization. He's the founder of it. His open source accomplishments include Boost Beast, which is how we got onto this topic, Nub, Dubspia, a bunch of other stuff. He's also known for authoring the BearShare file share. Oh, I remember BearShare. That was him. I remember BearShare, the BearShare file sharing application in 2001. I remember BearShare. So yeah, that's in. Just man, oh man, I do have my issues with Vinnie Falco. All right, this is still building. Wow, Windows is so utterly slow. It's hard. It's difficult to watch. Let me check I'm going to double check the chat room just to make sure that there is nobody, that there aren't messages that are being missed. So let me see if I pull this out. No, it doesn't look like there are. Pop out. I mean, it's building. It is building. So progress is slow, but we did make a little bit of progress. Because I am going to have to wrap up here soon. One of the things I did want to talk about is some of the other, not features, but some of the other bullet points that I want to accomplish with this project. And at the rate we're going, it's going to take us a few years to do so. But we can still dream. No, not all progress is going to be this slow. I mean, once you just kind of got to get started. And then once you get started, things, it's like you build, and then it'll just start. Trust me. It will all start coming together very soon. What we're experiencing now is completely normal. So a few requirements of the Electron app. Electron app will use Webpack. Or will use custom libraries via Webpack. To explain what that means, let's look at Electric Owl real quick, and then we're going to call it a day. All right, so this again is Electric Owl. After you wait 20 minutes for it to start up. Come on, Windows. Come on, Windows. You can do it. You can do it. You got this, Windows. Come on, Windows. Oh, the little boy, he's so cute. Look at the little Windows. Come on, Windows. Oh, we put out a line. Okay, we're almost there. Almost there. There we go. Oh, I see the icon. I see the icon. Ah, yay. You did it, Windows. So again, this is the Electric Owl app. And this is eventually what we will be working on and making it to look more like Discord and making it to look like my old program, Owl. So I said I was going to explain Webpack really quickly. With programming, there are libraries. Like we just talked about the Boost library, which we're waiting for that to build. And but that's all C++. But every language has its concept of libraries. JavaScript, Perl, PHP, C#. You name it, it has a concept of libraries, which makes sense because you don't want to have to rewrite code over and over. Now here in Electric Owl, what I wanted to do is I was trying to figure out how to create my own library and then use it inside of the project itself. And I did that. Where did I do that? Right here. So you can see here in this preload.ts file, let me close everything else. You can see here, what I did was I did an import of the app version. And then I simply tried to expose the app version to the main process. Now I know that doesn't make any sense right now because it didn't make any sense to me when I first started. But the important thing to realize here is that all I'm trying to do is just load the library. So let's find the library itself and take a quick look at it. We'll split the window. So all this app version library is, it just has a few definitions of the version of the application itself. The major, the minor, and the patch. And then it has a nifty handy little function here called version, which returns a string where all of those things are appended together. So you would have something like, so you could get something that looks like, 1.2.3, or that's 12.3, but you get the idea. 1.2.3. And then that way, whenever I need to update the version number, I could just come in here and change that to 2. This is a very simple example of when you might want to use a library. Okay, so I had app version.ts and I had it where I want it inside of this file. And then what I wanted to do is I simply wanted to import it into my code of Electric Owl. And then I wanted to expose it to the main process. I know that I'm going to kind of gloss over that. But basically, I just wanted to use it. I just wanted to be able to use it. But the problem is that Electron is very, 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 almost to a fault, very secure conscious. And it actually won't let you use libraries. It won't let you use libraries like that. It won't let you pull source files from other locations into the Electron code. I'm using kind of non-technical terms, but that's the gist of it. Because all I'm saying here, all this code is saying is all this code right here that I'm highlighting, all that says is, oh, I have some code in another file. Can you include that file into this file as though I just typed the code out in this file and then allow me to use it throughout? And then Electron says, no, that is a security risk because who knows what people could put into this file on the right-hand side. Because the file on the left-hand side, there's all this technical stuff that happens when you build the application. So that way it knows that nobody messed with it. It knows nobody altered it to do something bad. Whereas the file on the right-hand side, it doesn't know. Doesn't know. So how do you solve that? How do you get around that? Well, what you do is you have a tool. And there's a couple of tools, but the most popular one is called Webpack. I think it's webpackjs.org. And this, what Webpack does, and there, it will, like, you know, this is the thing I love about the internet. What does Webpack do? JavaScript. And then, where is it? Webpack. At its core, Webpack is a static module bundler for modern JavaScript applications. All right, that's not that bad. That kind of explains what it is. So what it means is when you go to build your application, or compile, you don't really compile JavaScript, but you build it, which is analogous to compiling. When you go to do that for an Electron/JavaScript application, what it's going to do is it is literally going to take this, copy it, where it sees the import statement, it's going to paste it. And then it's going to compile that. And that avoids the security issue, because then if somebody later, like you distribute your application or something, then it doesn't matter if somebody edits the file on the right-hand side, because it's already been incorporated into the file on the left-hand side. Therefore, it's a security enhancement. It's an extra protection from tampering. But it's also a pain in the ass, because you have to set that up. You have to set it up and say, okay, you know, these are the files that I want, and this is where I want them put, and this is, and it's a pain in the ass, just like everything in programming. It's a pain. It's just a pain. But that is one of the things that we will need to figure out how to do. So that way, like, you know, obviously when you're using this, when you're using what will eventually be our Kekbo application, you'll be able to go to an About menu and you'll be able to see the version information. And of course, there will be many other libraries that are used, and they will have to each be added with Webpack whenever we start writing them. So we'll have to figure that out as it goes along. How is the progress on Boost? It did make some progress. It is already 10 after 7. I really should go call it a day. As oh wait, no, we're down here. Whoa, wait, where are we? Oh, it finished. Right? So this should be a lot faster because it already built everything, configuring generation. It's done. Okay, so great. Let's talk about this for a little. Let's talk about this really quick. And let me get another. I want to get another console window. Whoa, what happened? Can I open this in a new window? Can I open in a new window? No. All right, I need to just open in a new window altogether. All right, give me a second. Electron CPP. All right, I think that's what I wanted. Right. So we have what have we done? I've completely lost the context of what we were doing. What we've done. Okay, I got it. I got it back. We added the My Library to the Electron CPP app, and now we set it up with CMake. And what I'm hoping now is now that CMake is working, I am hoping that we can build, and then when we build, we have a static library. And on Windows, that would be a .a file. Is that what they are on Windows? I forget. But let's go ahead and build it, compile it, and let's see if we get that static. If we get that binary static library. Probably should have added some processors. It's building, it linked, and then it looked successful. Oh, it's a .lib file. So if I go over into, actually, let me just. All right, so it's in lib, my lib, debug, and then there it is. You've got the symbol file, the PDB. Remember when I talked about debugging and symbols? The PDB is the symbol file because this is a debug build, and then the lib file is what I would actually link into with my library with whatever's using this. Now this is a lib file, and I don't remember if Node.js needs a static library or if it needs a shared library. Because a shared library is simply on Windows is a DLL. So I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out. But I think we made absolutely great progress. No, we didn't. We didn't make any progress. I might be back tomorrow, but I think the more I think about it, the more that regardless if I'm back or not tomorrow, I think I'm definitely going to be here on Saturday, because with that I can go for probably 5-6 hours straight. I don't have to worry about work, because right now I kind of want to get started with my work stuff. So that would be awesome. So I might see you tomorrow. I will set the stream for about 6 o'clock. I might show up a little early, and then but if for some reason I don't make it, it is definitely a date on Saturday morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock. You and I here, getting some work done on this Electron CPP project. And, I really think with like 2 solid days of work, we can knock it out of the park. So maybe we can do that this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We spend maybe 5-6 hours each day, and boom, it's done. So, I mean, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking like, well, geez, you spent the past like hour and a half and you accomplished like nothing. Trust me. Just trust me on this one. All right. And also, while you're there, be sure to click the like button down below. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notifications. At some point, I'm going to play chess again, and I'd like you to be there. It would be great to see you. So until next time, take care, and I hope you have a great and